What's going on, guys? Greg here with CarD.com. Welcome back to the shop, and we are once again working on my Ford Bronco project. Now, in the last video, we completely stripped the front end on this truck, got all the old suspension parts out, including those terribly rotted coil spring towers. And before I bolt up any new parts, I want to make sure that I stop this rust dead in its tracks. So we're going to be painting the frame with some rust preventative paint. Now, you guys may be familiar with some other rust preventative paints like POR 15, which we do sell on CarD.com, but most of them are all very similar. I picked up some of Bill Hirsch's Miracle paint at a local auto parts store because we're under a little bit of a time crunch and I couldn't wait to order anything in. But this is almost identical to POR 15 that you will see on CarD.com. Now, this stuff can be messy, and once it bonds to anything, it is there for good. So I'm going to tarp the area, get changed to some really old dirty clothes, and let's go ahead and get started. All right, guys, I'm getting ready to start painting the frame. We've got a drop cloth and everything laid out with some cardboard as well on the floor to keep it protected, because if this stuff gets on anything, it's really, really difficult to get off. I'm also wearing gloves to make sure I don't get it on my skin, because again, really difficult to get off. It'll be on your skin for a week if that's the case. And this is with any rust preventative paint, really. Just make sure you wear the protective gear. Now, this particular paint and a lot of the other ones, they actually cure faster with moisture in the air. So to make sure that it doesn't cure inside the can, we're not going to take the lid off. We're actually just going to puncture 2 holes in the top of the can, one to let air in and one to pour out exactly what we need into this container. And then I've also got some of these foam paint brushes, which are really good to use for this application because they're just, throwaway brushes. Really easy to apply the paint as well to the frame using those. So, make sure we shake it up. Just using the punch. Make sure to clean that off. Oops, that might be a little too small, guys. That's better. And then, as they suggest in the instructions, take a piece, if I can get it off, of duct tape, and we're gonna cover up these holes. That way, no moisture is gonna be able to get in. All right, and I'll put this can aside. All right, guys. Put a little bit on the brush, start painting. Now, we're gonna end up doing 2 coats on this thing. It's better to do 2 thin coats than 1 really, really thick coat. So it's just a matter of taking your time. It's like painting anything else with a brush. Nice and easy. This isn't necessarily the right way to treat and paint a frame and prevent rust. I know that. The correct way would be doing a frame off restoration and literally pulling the body off the frame, but that's not what this build is for. This build, we're simply getting an old truck back on the road so we can enjoy it, have fun with it. This is not your traditional frame off restoration, but I also don't want to bolt brand new parts to, a rusty frame. I want to try to stop the rust where it sits. So that's why we're treating what we can see. So we're gonna simply paint the frame as best as we possibly can with the body still on it. And just be mindful of where you're putting the brush, what you're probably hitting, like that brake line I just hit. Just try to be careful. Getting the underside is going to be challenging, I'll tell you that much. All right guys, our first coat of our rust preventative frame paint has been applied. It's dried and it looks fantastic. Now we're gonna put on our second coat, and once that dries, we can finally start reassembling our front suspension. All right guys, our second coat of rust preventative paint has been applied to the frame, and in the next video, we're gonna be able to finally reassemble the front suspension on this Bronco with new coil spring towers and that Skyjacker lift kit. So if you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and stay up to date on all the latest progress with my Project Bronco.